debates that are going to be going on. We'll tell you more about who's going to be speaking this evening, as it'll start at 6 o'clock here in a few minutes with the coroner, and we'll be having that as they're set up on the stage here. We'll show you more about that. But next Monday night also we'll have part of the debate. We'll be back here, and it'll include the judges candidates that are going to be running in the May primary. We called up here right now with Tim Hutchins, Nelson County Judge Executive. And first of all, thanks for taking a minute to talk to us. We are glad to be here to be a part of the Republican debate. Talk a little bit about how and why it's important to have these type of debates for the Republicans here in Nelson County.
Well, we have more candidates running on the Republican ticket, for sure, and the Republican local party decided to host these debates and organize these debates and so on. And as you know, you was in some politics over the years, or public service, what I call it. Is I just think it's good for people to see and hear and listen to your views and your policies and get your message out. So, that's what we're attempting to do tonight. I think how many we got 4 tonight total.
That's correct.
And the judges race will be next week, and there's one more next week. I think there's another magistrate race on the next Monday. Starts at 6 o'clock also. So that's what we're here for. Listen to people's message, and it's a good time. I mean, I've always encouraged people to get involved and listen to their messages, and here we are.
Yes, and tonight, just to kind of reaffirm what the judge just said, we will start out with the coroner. We've got 2 magistrate races, PVA, and then another magistrate race coming up next week with yours, Judge. And then for the judge executive, you and Don Thrasher. Again, coming up, it's hard to believe it's almost the middle of May. May 19th, almost here for the primary. I know you've been out talking to your constituents. Tell me what you're hearing from here in Nelson County.
Well, I feel good about it, but to give you a truthful answer, I have not campaigned yet. I haven't started. I'm having my kickoff rally Friday night at 6 o'clock down the road here on 245 at David Munnins' barn, he calls it. So we're having a kickoff rally, support of me, and I want to listen to people's feelings and views, and if they're happy or not happy, and if they got some things that they're not happy with, I need to know about it. And we hope that we have a lot of support. And so today, when I say I haven't campaigned, I put 2 big signs up today. I got 2 trailers with my banners on them. That'll be the first signs I've put out. And then Friday, we'll put signs out Saturday, and that's when I'm going to start my campaign.
When you start thinking about your tenure as the Nelson County judge, you were a long-time magistrate that led up to your time as judge. What have been some of the things that you feel like have been challenges that you've really been able to tackle?
Well, a lot of just some of the repair and maintenance of some of the buildings that, for whatever reason, it was not kept up. We've been remodeling the old courthouse, which is kind of the center icon of the community. I mean, you turn on every news channel, and you'll see Nelson County, Bardstown's, what we call the old courthouse, visitor center. And, there was a lot of plaster falling down, and it was leaking everywhere, and it was just getting bad shape, no doubt about it. So we saved some money and accumulated, and we didn't have to bond any and borrow any money, and we had to replace the heat and air unit mainly. We took all the ductwork out, all the old boiler system. I mean, I told everybody last year in January, a year ago, January the 3rd, when the heat went out, we had no heat. So them girls, it was pretty rough, and then going into the summer. So we went through a really tough time there, and so we've got it done. We moved back in, and the Tourist Commission kicked in $600,000. The Fiscal Court paid about $1.1 and then the Tourist Commission, they want to do some upgrades and remodeling because they're downstairs. They're downstairs with Main Street, and who else is downstairs? The BIDC board and the chamber. And they've got it all upgraded downstairs now, and I think they're very happy. They still got to do some organizing. So that was one of the biggest tough ones. And then several other buildings, the Civic Center, we've had to replace air conditioners and things in a lot of buildings, and that was a challenge really to do that. And the main thing I wanted to do is probably, I can name it, I won't be here all day. How much time do I have?
I was going to say, it ended about 3 minutes ago. Now, we're about 2 minutes away from it starting, so go ahead. Go ahead.
Truthfully, that, and I wanted to create a culture of common sense and work ethic. And what I tell everybody is positive attitudes. And all the departments, most of the departments, even some of the joint divisions that we've got with the city, I think we've accomplished that. And they work with people, and we try to help people, and we've been over backwards to help them do the right thing. And we've created a very good positive culture of work ethic. We've merged several departments. You know, I've eliminated and saved about $700,000 by putting different departments together and other departments, eliminated some jobs. Some people retired out. So I feel real good about that. And then two other big important thing is we put prayer at every meeting and a pledge of allegiance. I don't know if they've ever done that or not, but we do every meeting. We open with a prayer and pledge allegiance. I campaigned on that, and we did it. So that's probably the three, what I say, most important things we've done. But I can go on and on about all the projects we've done and the record number of blacktop, record number of bridges replaced. And as you can see, I'm kind of dressed up today for Mr. Howe here. I knew you was coming.
So you came out, there you go.
So I've been in Frankfurt most of the day today, and I'm going to be up the rest of the week talking to the senators and representatives and working with them. And they're going in their last week of session and trying to get more capital and money brought to Nelson County. And I feel really good about it. I think 26 is going to be a good year. So we've got a lot of projects that we're working on. Some of it we can't talk about public because we've got non-disclosure agreements on some of them. So we got a lot of good news coming, a lot of excitement coming for the community. And you've heard me talk about the Agri-Science Center and building that at the fairgrounds. And the big thing is trying to expand our baseball complex. You big sports guys,
that's
softball,
right.
t-ball, and soccer at the Dean Watts Park. We're running out of room. So there's Exposition Center. We're working on that. And definitely working on industrial park. And that's kind of our main three goals going in the next, several years. And so it's been really good. We've got a really good working relationship with the magistrates. There's 5 magistrates in the county, and all the departments and head. I feel, by majority, I feel pretty good about it.
We thank you for joining us tonight before this event gets taken place, and we look forward to hearing more from you coming up on Monday night when you'll be in here talking with the Republican, the Republicans running for the debate for County Judge Executive. Thank you,
You're gonna
Judge.
be here next week?
Gonna be here next week.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you,
as long
Al.
as you let us in.
All right.
You know.
We got an
I know
entry
you
fee.
got an entry fee now.
for you, yeah.
You've already talked about that earlier. Nelson County Judge Executive Tim Hutchins. Thanks for being with us, Judge. We appreciate you having us here. And again, they're getting ready to get this started here. Again, G&G is going to bring you coverage of the debate here this evening, and we'll be going to the main stage. John Snow, who is the Republican chair here in Nelson County, he will get us started here this evening, and again, he'll lead us.
Can you hear me?
And
Test. Is
we're
thing
glad
working?
that you're a part of it. Make sure to like and share this broadcast.
I'm the chairman for the Nelson County Republican Party this year. For the last couple of years. I appreciate you all coming out. I see we're missing some people, but hopefully they'll make it in. I want to go over some of the rules for tonight. We thank Thomas Nelson High School for having us, first of all. And we thank retired General Dion for coming and moderating for us. We appreciate that greatly. It's awesome to have somebody to come in and do that for us. So there's a couple of things that we're going to go over. We want to make sure that everything is done orderly. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the candidates. As you speak, you're going to come to the microphone and do 5 minutes per. You're going to get a 5-minute introduction in the beginning, and then after everybody's introduced themselves, then we're going to do the questions. They're going to be drawn out of the jug, and you'll watch me tear open the envelope and put them in there. We'll draw them out one at a time. Each candidate is going to get 5 minutes per question, and then they're going to get a 1-minute rebuttal. So if you want to rebut that, if you have a race that only has 2 in it, then you can go one after the other. Our race that has 3, we'll have to try to organize that a little better. We'd like to get everybody's response to the question and then give everybody a chance to rebut anything that they would like to. So there's the potential there for roughly 20 minutes on a three-person race to answer that question and offer up their rebuttals. And then at the end, we will have a closing of 3 minutes for each candidate, opportunity to close out the evening with them, and then we'll call it a night. The moderator is going to be asking the questions. I'll be keeping the time. He'll be announcing when their time is up if they didn't hear the alarm go off. All right? Did I leave anything out? All right. I think we're good. Ms. Jean's going to introduce our first person.
Good evening. I'm Gina Hutchins. I'm the Vice Chair of the Nelson County Republican Party. Our first individual to speak tonight is Danielle Klodick. She is the incumbent coroner. She's going to come to the microphone. The other candidate chose not to participate in this debate, so Danielle's just going to give a quick introduction of herself and kind of go over a couple of key points she'd like to make. Danielle?
Thank you for having me here this evening. As introduced, I am Danielle Klodick, and I am your county coroner. I have been your county coroner for the last 3.5 years. It's an honor to speak to you this evening, and this evening is important for our voters. They'll get to know us if they haven't already met us. I have had several opportunities to speak to groups throughout the year, and while speaking in public is not one of my favorite things to do, I do get to enjoy meeting our community members. It's always a nice thing to do when you don't have to meet them under the most difficult circumstances. I want to thank you for all of your support for over the years as I've sought this position. It took 3.5 years. While it took a while for me to become a coroner, the 3.5 years that I've been coroner has been enjoyable and a very worthwhile learning experience. I was voted in as the first woman coroner for Nelson County. I was voted in as the first Republican for Nelson County coroner. As an addition to becoming your first woman coroner, I changed the office previously held by a long-term incumbent, and the incumbent that I took the office from is the one that my opponent works for. If he was here this evening, one of my questions to him would be, and I heard him say this on the radio, so it's there. He wanted to know what it was to be a coroner. He was a deputy coroner when I took over, and I asked him to become one of my deputy coroners to come along with us to make the transition easier. He chose not to. He chose to stay at the funeral home. So that is why I would like to know why he wants to be coroner now. I don't work at a funeral home. I don't have any ties to a funeral home. However, I do have mutual aid contracts with funeral homes in order for us to do transports and to use their facilities for our storage units. Since I took over in 2023, Nelson County has its first in decades, the first independent coroner's office. It's at the new Career Center at 860 West Stephen Foster in Bardstown. I have 3 deputies that cover for me when I am trying to spend time with my family or actually get to go out of town, or I am doing things with the community. I do a lot of community projects. I spend a lot of time with community partners, and one of our community partners called Nail Care is with me, and we are going to start a overdose and suicide review team. That'll be the first for the county to ever have. The coroner's office is in charge of manner and cause of deaths, from unattended natural deaths at home to the deaths within the hospital of 24 hours or less, such as the ER, suicides, homicides, motor vehicle collisions, undetermined causes, and accidental deaths such as overdoses. I'm also called to the hospital if any deaths occur for upstairs, like on the 2nd floor, 3rd floor, if they have anything to do with a prior fall, suicide attempt, or any others. I have personally attended over 400 deaths in Nelson County within my term. I sign all the death certificates. I have contact prior from all of the funeral homes for any cremations to ensure there's not any additional contact needed before the services are done. Because once a cremation is done, there's no going back. Nelson County's office also hosts a grief support group called Meet the Neighbor. We meet twice a month, and we were there for anyone who struggles with their grief or just needs support to move forward. My goals for Nelson County Coroner's Office are simple, but it seems very difficult as I maneuver through funding with fiscal court and grants. We have been awarded a few grants. We've been awarded a vehicle. The vehicle did not work out for us. There were several issues with it, including it would stall and break down at traffic lights, so I wasn't going to put a loved one in the back of it. We're working through that, and hopefully we'll have a means to the end soon. While we're all together, let me touch on a few policies and procedures for the coroner's office. Some of our community members have either concerns about whether or not we are doing things correctly, or there are concerns due to lack of knowledge. Our office is governed by the statutes of the state. They don't have anything to do with the policies within the county. They're all governed. So let me touch on a few. The coroner's office is in charge of death notifications. Two of us will go out to a motor vehicle accident, per se. One of us will stay on scene. The other one will go do the notification with family. We'll take a sheriff's deputy or a police officer with us. We only have to contact one family member. The immediate family member, if they are out of town, that family member will call the immediate family while we're there. When we leave, more than one person already knows that that person is deceased. But at least the immediate family member has been contacted. I don't have to contact every member of every family, because that would take a long time to do. But at least one member of the immediate family must be contacted. We do that. When it comes to cases pertaining to minors, the coroner's office attends, as well as police departments, sheriff's departments, CPS office, that's the Child Protective Services. That is all governed within the statutes. That is policy. We cannot change that. There is a reason why we have policies and procedures. It protects us and it protects families. At the scene, photos are taken from all of the agencies present. Information is documented and obtained. Notifications are completed. Once these are all finished and we are done on scene, there are news stations that contact us. We can give out information that does not need to have specialized approval, like the basics. We can say it's undetermined at this time, or we're not sure yet. We'll get back to you. But this is how we do it. We can say it was adult. We may not give the person's name, but we can say it's adult, it's a child, 10 years old, 15 years old, 25, 85, anything like that. That is allowed. We can also give the names if the family is okay with that. We have plenty of opportunities within different agencies and groups within the county that like to help families, and sometimes those organizations will help us by, they'll come to us and ask, can we give this information to this family? Can you tell us how old their person was, what they died from, and we'll take it from there. I don't know how things were handled previously. I was not part of the previous administration. I asked to be part of it, but because I did not work at a funeral home, I did not become part of that. This office is independent. It has nothing to do with any funeral homes, other than to have our mutual agreements on transportation and storage. As previously mentioned, I appreciate you all attending and supporting me throughout all of the events and all of the steps that I've taken to become coroner and as I've been coroner. And I ask you to hold to that vision and to continue to support me as I complete this journey in this next term. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Roger, and I'm honored and privileged to share a few moments with you tonight. I look forward to good conversations and the candidates who are demonstrating their character with civility and candidness, we appreciate. As most of you probably heard on the rules, the questions were predetermined but undisclosed, so no candidate tonight will have any idea what these questions are. I did ask, by the way, hey, can I read them so that I don't stumble on some weird word? And I was told, absolutely not, you don't get to see them. So I've chose the first one. Are you ready, ma'am?
I'm ready.
All right. Please describe a time when a case required collaboration with multiple agencies and describe your approach.
Every case needs collaboration with agencies. We work hand in hand with every police department, including KSP, Sheriff's Department, and Police Department. We work with Child Protective Services, as I previously mentioned. We work with Adult Protective Services. Like I said, every case has something to do with another agency. We are called to go to scene when we arrive. It'll be myself or one of my deputies, or sometimes there's multiple of us. We'll arrive, we'll introduce ourselves to the family, we'll get the information from the first responders that are there, either sheriff's deputy, police department, EMS. We'll get all the information about the subject. We'll go in, talk to the family for a minute, go look at whatever it is that we're looking at, and then we'll come back out, we'll do our examination, then we'll come back out and we'll talk to the family, get some medical history, get what happened during that day, and then we'll determine if that person is going to go to autopsy or if they're going to go to a funeral home. If that family doesn't have a place to go to, then we'll get a hold of one of our funeral homes to help us, or we have opportunity to use a van, so we can go get the van and take the person and hold on to them until that family makes that choice. We have a list of funeral homes that we say, here's the ones that we know of that are in the area. Just make your choice. And then we stay with them until the funeral home comes, or if we decide to take them to autopsy, we'll tell the family that we'll get hold of them the next day. Once I get the autopsy preliminary report, then I contact the family and let them know what happens. And then we go from there. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Danielle. Would you like one more?
Sure.
All right. What do you believe poses the greatest challenge for the coroner's position?
The greatest challenge is that we don't have a way to bring in income. We have to rely on the support of fiscal court or grants. And that makes it very difficult for us because although we have high hopes of what we want to have, it takes us a long time to get it. And that is one of the most difficult issues that we have.
Thank you, Ms. Danielle.
You're welcome.
Another one or no?
Okay. The one thing about the coroner's office is that a lot of people don't know anything about the coroner's office. And I've made it very transparent. If you have any questions or you would like to come and see what we do, now we don't take you to a home or to an accident or anything like that, but we'll talk to you about what we do. I'm very open about that. I want the community not to be afraid to come up and see me at the grocery and say, hey, how you doing today? I don't want that. I want you to know that we're here for you. That's what we're for.
Ma'am, the next question is, in your opinion, what are the three most important skills for a coroner?
The three important skills would be communication. We have to communicate with our families every day. Someone is going to need us at some point every day. Empathy. We need to understand that they're going through their worst day today. Tomorrow might be a next step, but today we need to have understanding and empathy for that person. And we also need to have patience on top of knowing what it is that we're there for, to complete our investigation, to know the clues to look for. We have to have the patience to find them and to have the family just step back for a minute while we examine their person or the surrounding to understand what it is that we need to do with the proceeding.
Side note, one of my jobs is to make sure a candidate answers the question, so thank you. She answered 3 things: communication, empathy, and patience. No follow-up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we're going to have our candidates for the third district magistrate race. So if they want to come up, I saw David, I know MT's, I think he's on his way in. This thing's not working real great, so. I was going to wait for him to get in here to go over the rules again since he was a little bit behind getting here. You get your choice of seats, Mr. David, since you were here first. He says he's here, so we're just waiting on him to walk in. Yeah, in there. You want me to tell a joke? Just kidding. Just kidding. Here he comes. All right. All right, so by way of reminder, each candidate will get 5 minutes to introduce themselves. They don't have to use the entire time, but they each get 5 minutes. And then we will start the questions. Each candidate will get 3 questions. They'll be the same as the other candidate. They'll get 5 minutes per question to respond. We'll allow both candidates to respond to the questions, and then each of them will have a minute to rebut the response of the other candidate. You can only rebut the other candidate 1 time, and then we'll move on to the other question for a total of 3 questions. And then at the end, you'll have a 3-minute period where you can do a summation. Okay?
to introduce himself.
And we're being told that the sound isn't great, so maybe get a little closer to the microphone or hold it, either way.
Thank you guys for having me tonight. I do apologize for running a little bit late. Had it on the wrong month, much less being here. And so if I'm a little red in the face, it's due to high blood pressure. Just running a little faster than I'm used to here lately. Again, my name's M.T. Harnett. I have 3 children, all born and raised right here in Nelson County. My wife and I are from Nelson County. I grew up in New Haven. My roots go all the way back to Boston in the early days, and my family settled from Boston into the Lion Station area, where my grandfather raised 3 kids, and we still own half of that farm today due to the division of farms lands today. So I do come from a long heritage of Nelson Countyans, and I'm very proud to say that, born and proud to be here to work in Hardin County. I work in Marion County, and I spend about a third of my time in Nelson County as well. I've got 2 businesses. I own Bud's Produce in E-Town, and I also own Loretta Food Land. I've worked extremely hard to build those businesses. I was fortunate enough to win magistrate and currently being the magistrate of District 3, and very proud to say that we've accomplished a whole lot at fiscal court. I'm very proud to say that the way we handle our finances and the way we handle policies are second to none of what we've seen in the past, and I look forward to continuing that if I'm fortunate enough to be your magistrate for District 3 going forward. Thank you.
All right. We're going to flip a coin to see who gets the question first, and then we'll alternate. MT being the current magistrate, I will give you the call on it. Tails. It is heads, so David gets the first question.
All right. Coming up, Mr. Call. I've just selected the first question. How will you ensure you are accessible to your constituents? And how will you make it easier for them to understand what's happening in fiscal court?
Well, just like I said a while ago, I'm a people person. I've lived in this county my whole life, and just like MT stated, he's got a business in Hardin County, he's got a business in Marion County, and he lives in the city, and I don't see how, I know he spends a lot of time on his business and stuff, but I don't see how you can live in the county, have businesses out of the county, and be in a position to where you're representing the county all the time. And what I would do, I would be in contact with the people, and I would always let them know where I was at. And like I said, I'm a people person. I don't like doing this right here, right now. But anyway, the purpose of a magistrate is to represent the people, and that's exactly what I would do. And if they had a question or something, they could look me up. And I've had 10 or 15 people contact me and say that is the problem with MT, even though I consider him a good friend. He hasn't spent the time in the county with the people. I've heard several complaints about that, and I would make sure that I would be representing the people by being out there talking to them, and they could always look me up. That's what I would do.
Thank you, Mr. Call. Per the rules, Mr. Harnett, you have 1 minute to respond.
No really complaint or to respond. The only one thing that I could probably negate is the 10 to 15. It's a large gap. It's about 33% of difference as far as people that want to complain that I am not representing them. If you call my cell phone, I am a very busy person. I do have 2 businesses, but I am available. I have great people at both places that free me up 99% of the time. So just like today, I was able to leave anytime I wanted to hang signs, anytime to sit on the back porch, and anytime. So if you do call me and I don't answer, which is possible, but I do call back and I get your name and phone number, I'm going to put you in my phone. And if there is a name that pops up on my phone, I'll step out of meetings, I'll do what's necessary to get to that phone call. So as far as representing you, I have zero problem spending the 24 hours more efficiently, more dedicated than any other candidate on fiscal court, not just in District 3. And that's something I take a lot of pride into. You can't build businesses and not answer your phone and not respond to customers or constituents.
Thank you, Mr. Harnett. So same question to Mr. Harnett then? Okay. I'll repeat the question for the audience and for you, sir. How will you ensure you are accessible to your constituents, and how will you make it easier for them to understand what's happening in fiscal court?
Making myself accessible is a lot easier today than it was when Bernard Ice was elected. We've got those cell phones that everybody points up, snaps cameras, text, emails, vice versa, phone calls. So I'm extremely accessible. My cell phone is published in the public. I don't I don't hide that. I don't have two cell phones. I have one. You can catch me at any other place if you think you can catch me there, because I'm very rarely at Bud's, or if I'm very rarely at Food Lane, you can ask them. Most of the time, like I said, I try to divide my time up 1/3, but it's not what I consider guaranteed. I don't punch a clock, but I do work tirelessly from sun up to sundown, and a lot of times it's well before sun up. If I do sit down, I do get pretty tired. So as far as working a lot, that's my forte. I love it. I enjoy it. That's the accessible part. So, making the phone calls back and answering the questions, to answer the second part of it, which is very important, because a lot of people in our district, not just our district, but in our county, don't understand how fiscal court works. So breaking that down on a level that the common person that is not in that arena, so when I say common, it's not a degrading, because I had zero idea how fiscal court worked until I got involved. And I felt like I, understood it. I felt like I understood how government worked until you get in there and really, you see how the intrinsics of the money flows and how and where in the laws. I mean, it's crazy how many laws you have to really abide by just to make sure you pass any kind of budgets, any kind of ordinances, and that type of thing. So I've learned a whole bunch in the 3.5 years that I'm there, and I really look forward to spending the next 4 years there, learning a little bit more, and not sure if I'll run after that for sure. So we'll get by one election at a time.
Thank you, Mr. Harned. Per the rules, Mr. Call, would you like to respond? Okay. Per the coin flip, then, Mr. Harned, the next question goes to you first, if you'll come back up. The question reads, how will you balance the needs of rural agricultural areas with the needs of more densely populated developing areas of the county?
So balancing those rules, the ordinances pertain and have a whole lot to do with that. And we have fought to create and establish an updated comprehensive plan that will allow for the county to develop a little bit for some feasible home lots. We've done a great job through the fiscal court of this past term to balance the power to be's of what I call our corporations, one being the bourbon industry, which in the past has had all the advantages and a lot of the other industries do not. So we basically have brought that into an even keel to where they have to play on the same playing fields that all other corporations have. That's something that I've taken pride in as well. I know our whole fiscal court has, and that's as far as making it an even playing field, so it makes it more fair, creating the opportunities for young families nowadays to having housing affordability is something that's on the radar of a lot of politicians, federal, state, as well as local. And our part's not so much on that federal or state level, but it's on the local level. And if we can create those ordinances and bylaws that allow that, have that opportunity, then that's what I'm going to be pushing for going forward.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harned. Mr. Call, would you like to respond to Mr. Harned's response? Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
They're getting a lot of land available for development in District 3. And the thing about it is, my main concern is the environment. And one thing about it, the people stood up in this county against this digester that was coming to this town. And the misfortune about that is it ended up down to Boston. And people doesn't realize a lot of the material that's being handled through through the digester down there. But the environment, if you have people coming into this county and not having a place to live is very important. But the main thing is try to have the environment to where people wants to stay here, and that someday your kids are going to live here, and that way they know that they won't be coming down with some kind of cancer or something like that, which is very important. That's all.
Mr. Harnan, do you want to respond to Mr. Call? All right.
Nothing major, just so people understand, the digester that was negated in town did not relocate to the Lebanon Junction, Boston area. It was two different companies, two different sets of ordinances. One passed, one felt the pressure, and there's two different decisions made there. And that's all basically.
Okay. Mr. Call, per the coin flip, if you'll come up, please. And let me cover something with Mr. Snow. And because they have a 1-minute rebuttal and the second person has simply read the question, should I read the question again and allow their rebuttal and their response to be similar? Because that appears to be what's happening.
So he would have an opportunity to respond to that question if you like.
Okay, got it. He only gets one rebuttal for the entire night or each question? Yeah, each question. Okay, very good. Thank you, I appreciate the clarification. All right, Mr. Call. With property values increasing, will you advocate for a tax rates rollback, a compensation rate, to ensure the county does not collect more tax revenue than the previous year? Or will you support taking the full allowable increase?
When it comes to taxes, I'd do anything I could to keep taxes down. And on the rollback, yes, I would. But with the taxes the way they are, and with people trying to make a living and having so many taxes to pay, that it would be hard for me to say anything about that.
Okay. Mr. Harnan, would you like to respond? Okay. Would you like to come up for the same question, please? I'll repeat it. With property values increasing, will you advocate for tax rates rollback, compensation rate, to ensure the county does not collect more tax revenue than the previous year? Or will you support taking the full allowable increase?
Tax rates are a double-edged sword. I am definitely not a raise taxes at all cost. I am for reasonable. Nelson County is one of the, I guess, few counties in the world that can enjoy the amenities of what our tax rate is. Is it too high? Our tax rate's not too high. Our property valuation's too high. In some instances, I can say that. It's not the fault of our PVA. Our tax code stresses, and by law, they have to do their job in order to assess those valuations. That's what causes those tax rates to go up. And nobody likes to believe that, but just like David stated in his opening statement, his family farm cost $20,000. If we still taxed everybody on the valuation at that rate, if you rolled it back all the way there, you can basically all the good stuff that Nelson County provides for you would be gone in a heartbeat. So, there is a double-edged line. I think it needs to be responsible. So what was the second part of that? You had 3 or 4. Compensation.
Will you advocate for tax rates rollback, compensation rate, to ensure the county does not collect more tax revenue than the previous year? Or will you support taking the full allowable increase?
Yeah, the compensation rate or below is kind of where my mentality goes with that, just to maintain current expenditures for the county services that we provide. Nobody wants to see less services. That's a hard sell. It doesn't matter what party you are. You don't want to see less ambulances, less police force, less garbage pickups. Those things are pretty important to every constituent of mine. So, the compensation rate or below, and we've done a good job. Take Tim's lead on that as far as Judge Hutchins, and he was a big, push forward as far as lowering our county tax rate, in which we have. It's hard when you think about all the property valuations that have gone up so much, but you do pay less per 100 or per 1,000 on that than you did, 4 years ago. Also, people need to prepare, with what we've seen just recently in the last 2 to 3 months with the war. If you're not educated enough on what's getting ready to happen on our monetary policy on a federal level, you're going to see some high inflation rates. That's coming. And so be prepared for property valuations to go up due to that. And so we will work real hard on the local level. We can't control the federal or the state, but we'll work real hard on the local level to ease that burden as best we can for our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. That was 3 questions with the rebuttals. Now we'd like to give each candidate a 3-minute closing statement. And I guess, Mr. Call, you went first last time, so Mr. Harned, would you like to give us your 3-minute closing statement, please?
Again, I'd like to thank everybody for being attentive, not throwing anything at me tonight. Pretty decent. Want to appreciate Dave for coming out, and I do consider David a good friend. So you won't see me attack anything whatsoever David has to offer. I appreciate him getting involved in the race, just like I have the other race that I was in, and just like I do with businesses. So I appreciate the people that are involved in this, what I call chaos of county government. It does take somebody, I think, when you're electing somebody on the fiscal court, 90% of our job is spending your money. So when you're looking at what they think and what they do and what they know, make sure they have a little bit of a financial background. I come from a financial background myself, so I do have that in my pedigree as far as being a financial advisor for 5 years. I have a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science degree with a major in finance and business. So I come to the fiscal court adding a little bit of a layer that what I think is, somewhat can be helped in spending money wisely without being, too overburdened as far as, because I'm not going to spend it if we don't have it, and I'm definitely not going to spend it if we don't have a plan on why and how we're spending it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harned. Mr. Call, your 3-minute closing comments?
If I was lucky enough to win District 3 Masters race, the first thing I would do was contact as many people as I could and let them know that I'll always be there if they need something done. And I think that just like MT was talking about, there's a lot of money flow around, and with destruction of District 3, that's one of my main concerns, is the way District 3 is being destroyed, and all the farmland. That's some of the best farmland in the county. But I know people need houses, they need water, they need utilities, and that's one of the biggest issues that would be facing the county in the future. But if we have any new business coming into the county or factories, the main thing with that is automation. It's just like Heaven Hill. They spent $252 million, I believe it was, for 32 jobs. Was what we gave them, was that worth the 32 jobs that, that they have to offer when they spend millions of dollars? And with the automation coming in, I don't think that there's any factory out there that would be turning the revenue back to the county that for what we would be giving them. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. It's clear that both Mr. Call and Mr. Harned care deeply about Nelson County and their district. And if you would, please give them a round of applause for their courage in running and being with us tonight.
All right, we are going to move our card a little bit. We've got a couple of candidates that are trying to get here. They're running a little bit behind. So we only have one candidate for PVA here, Jay Williams. So we're going to have Jay come up and do an introduction and answer a couple of questions for his office. So. Sorry, Jay. You got it out of order, brother. And if you would get close to the microphone. It's not picking up real.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Thank you guys for having me. I do appreciate it. My name is Jay Williams. I'm actually from Glasgow, Kentucky. I grew up in the carpet business. My family had several carpet stores. I didn't install carpet. I sold carpet. I worked warehouse as well. My family and I came here in 2003, and we've been here ever since. We love the place. In fact, our daughter graduated from Thomas Nelson. And we have 2 grandchildren, and expecting our 3rd, so in October of this year. I've been PVA for 3 years. Love it. Completely love it. even though I do get, it does get a little tricky sometimes. It's unfortunate that somebody does have to do this job. It's unfortunate that sometimes in the market that we're in, we have to assess at 100% fair cash value. Now, what that tells me is that when you have a person that's right down the street from you that sells their house that's assessed for $250,000 and they sell it for $500,000, well, that's the bar. That's the step. That's what the assessment is. Now, if you have a similar house about the similar age, you're going to get an assessment very close to that. And it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Now, I'm working on several things to change this. I've got with my field rep. I've also got with other PVAs in surrounding counties that are similar in size to this county to see what they do differently, so that way we could possibly do the same thing. At any rate, I believe that's it for the introduction.
Okay, Mr. Williams, as the only candidate, I've selected a few questions
Okay.
from the sealed magic envelope.
All right.
You ready for the first question?
Yes, sir.
The Kentucky Constitution requires property to be assessed at 100% of fair cash value.
Yes.
If you believe the market is inflated, how will you balance the constitutional mandate with the need to avoid placing an undue burden on taxpayers?
Well, again, we do have a little leadway when it comes to that, and I do feel I haven't directly been affected with this yet. Let me give you an example. Log Steel started doing some B&Bs, and they were paying premium price for these. Now, what should have happened, we should have realized this was a micro market increase, and we shouldn't have allowed this to happen. And it affect other surrounding properties. That's one thing I've noticed, and that's one thing I've learned being in this office for 3 years. We have to start, and we must listen to those taxpayers. This is ridiculous on the way the amount of assessments are going up. Just like this year alone, we are looking at several different neighborhoods, and the increases were through the roof. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. $70,000 for a lot in a subdivision. That's crazy. Now, again, we have 100% fair cash value. We have a sale for one that's $70,000. So we have to have a medium to where we don't assess it I don't say not 100%, but we need to see what we can do and to make the assessments a little bit more palatable, because this is just getting way out of hand. And I do feel by assessing more than what we have. When I first got into office, we assessed about $2,500 to $3,000 the first year. We have over 18,000 residential properties in this county. That means to get every 4 years, we have to do over 6,000, and that's just residential. Now, we're not doing enough assessments. If we did more assessments, then we can adjust these assessments to a point to where it'll be a smaller increase instead of these great big jumps. What's happening is some of these are falling off on the side, and they're not getting assessed, so the office automatically gets behind, and you're not getting assessed for 6 years, 8 years, or possibly even longer.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I think this question will dovetail well with the previous question. It is a common misconception that the PVA sets the tax rates. How do you plan to educate the public on the difference between assessment, your job, and taxation, which is the job of the local taxing entity?
Right. We basically put the dollar amount on any personal property, such as your house, your vehicle, if you have a business, tangibles, empty, things like that. Like a forklift on a business. That's what we do. Now you can calculate your tax bill. As long as you have your tax rate, you multiply it out, and that's going to give you your tax bill. We have nothing to do with the tax rate. We don't set the tax rate. We're completely out of that. The taxing districts will look at the assessed value after I'm certified. Once I'm certified, they'll take a look at that and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We either take our compensating, the full amount of the 104%, or we'll even lower it and go to a lower tax rate. So they'll have their hearings on that and get that tax rate, and then they'll submit that, and then we'll eventually get that tax rate.
I'm going to come back to the question. I think one of my tasks is to make sure that we're touching on the question, how will you inform and educate those on what you just described?
We do that on a regular basis when people come in and they'll ask. We educate, and I've learned this in the carpet business. You don't buy carpet that often. And when you do, you have to have an education period. Okay, this is what this is, and this is what it can do and what it can't do. In this particular case, that's what I do in my office practically every day. When somebody comes in and they have a question, we explain to them that we set the assessment value, not the tax rate, only the taxing districts. And a lot of people do complain, what can I do to get this changed? A lot of people do not show up for these hearings in your taxing district. The school districts have to have 2 hearings, if I'm not mistaken, but a lot of people do not show up for those. But I would get with the local newspaper, Nelson County Gazette is another good one, and find out when this is, and so that way you can participate in these forums.
Thank you. And the third and final question, sir. Kentucky law requires a physical inspection of property at least every 4 years. What is your plan of keeping assessments current in the years between physical inspections?
Could you repeat that question?
Absolutely, sir. Kentucky law requires a physical inspection of a property at least once every 4 years. What's your plan for keeping assessments current in the years between the physical inspections?
What I'd like to do is eventually get to an assessment on a regular basis that's doing 1/4 or getting into the quad plan. Unfortunately, like I said, we're not assessing enough. Another thing is getting to a point where we assess the whole county every year. And that way it would have smaller jumps instead of these larger jumps. Scott County is doing that right now, and that's one of the things I would like to see our county do. It's going to take a lot of work and possibly some more manpower. As far as inspection is done once every 4 years, where we physically go to the house. However, we don't actually have to go there anymore. There has been precedent, there has been a lawsuit, and it's gone to the state Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken. My field rep has just informed me about this over the past month. We can actually get it from our imagery. We can also do our measurements from our imagery, and we don't have to physically go to your house and get those pictures and get those measurements. But we do assess every year.
All right, Mr. Williams, thank you. We're at the end of our 3 questions, and I'd like to afford you 3 minutes of closing comments.
I'd just like to say thank you. I've always wanted to be part of running for office, and in 22, I was very fortunate where I actually said, "Okay, let's do it," and I've loved it ever since. I don't really care for the speaking part in front of the public, but I don't think most people do. But as a challenge on a daily basis and trying to figure out and problem solve is one of the things that I really enjoy about this job. True, it does have its downside of it, but with every job, there's always a downside to it. But I just want to say thank you to the taxpayers. I really do appreciate the opportunity to serve as a PVA for Nelson County.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Will you please give Mr. Williams a round of applause for his time and efforts today? Over to you, Mr. Snow.
All right, I think we're still waiting on one. Bobby, Ted, if you all want to come on up to the stage. Ms. Boachevsky is on her way. She assures me that she'll be here in just a couple of minutes. I will go ahead and cover what I need to cover with these guys.
Do we have assigned seating or?
Nope, just wherever. I thought Gary went to find her. I thought you went to find Deborah Boachevsky. Deb Boachevsky. Our other candidates. All right, Stephen, you want to come on up? Hibbs? Somebody want to send him in for me?
John, you want us to go back down?
No, you're all right. Just stay there. You're fine. It's going to be him on his own. So apparently we were somewhat unclear about the fact that everybody needed to show up at the beginning. The times were more of an estimate. Come on up, Stephen. We're more of an estimate about how long we thought each candidate's race might go on the debate. But that's all right. Come on up. We'll let you introduce and take take questions. Come on up. You're good. You're good. We just changed it up a little bit. It's all right. Come on up. I'll let you introduce yourself. You get 5 minutes for that, and then we'll ask you some questions, all right?
All right. Well, for those that don't know me, I'm Stephen Hibbs. I'm a lifelong Nelson County. My family's been here for generations. I am a private business owner, have been for years. I'm a professional land surveyor. I've been licensed in the Commonwealth of Kentucky for 36 years. I have a long history with PVA office because what I do for a living centers around property, which of course that's the same thing that the property valuation office does. So I've spent a lot of time there, and other people, the first time I was in that office was probably 1981, and been there ever since. Today, I use the website because it's a lot more convenient, but I'm on that every day, again, doing what I do for a living. And I am running for this office just because I feel like that my background and knowledge and expertise gives me what I need to be able to run the office and do it in a way that to try and work with the property owners in Nelson County and within the limits, that's allowed as the administrator, and trying to help any way I can with the property owners having to deal with, obviously, property taxes. Nobody likes dealing with the government office. Any way that can be helped, I would definitely try and do. But I think that I've talked to a lot of people and continue to do so and plan on doing so until the election, of course. And I think that I can get my message out to people and be able to get in and get the office and serve the property owners in Nelson County in a manner they should be, which honestly my big priority is to, treat people the way that I like to be treated, and that's with courtesy and respect. And, if somebody comes in the office, then you deal with whatever their question or issue is and try and resolve it in the best manner possible. Is that my time?
It's your time for your introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Hibbs. You've perfectly fulfilled your opening statement, perfectly timed, well done. These are the same questions that we gave Mr. Williams in the same order.
Okay.
The Kentucky Constitution requires property to be assessed at 100% of fair cash value. If you believe the market is inflated, how will you balance the constitutional mandate with the need to avoid placing undue burden on taxpayers?
Okay, yes, that is the way that it's written. I think that you have to look at the pricing on how property has been selling, because, and again, I do a lot of work with builders and development, so I'm familiar with how that works. And in my opinion, there's a lot of times that the housing market goes way up real quick. And so if you have an existing development that, has homes in it that are already X number of years old, well, when they were purchased, they were at a certain value. And then the next section, based on the economics, those are inflated. I think you have to look at that and try and balance that out. Now, the trick is to be able to conform with what the requirements are to get the 100% fair cash value. So that, I think, is that's a math equation that you have to try and balance out to where it's fair for everybody. I mean, the people that pay the higher value, that's the method that you use. If you paid X for it, then that's the value of it. But the existing properties, their value is going to raise too, but the question is, does it raise the same amount? And then you'd have to work through the formulas to get the balance to what the state requires.
All right. The second question. It is a common misconception that the PVA sets the tax rate. How do you plan to educate the public on the difference between assessment, your job, and the taxation, which is the job of local taxing entities?
I've already been doing that. Everybody I've talked to, I've explained, because the common request you get from people you talk to is, you're going to lower my taxes? No, that's not what this position is. It is an administrative position that has to work between the statute that the state has set forth that gives you the guidelines on how to do assessments based on the different properties, the different methods that you use to come up with the assessments. And then you have the different taxing districts that set the rates for their specific district. And then it's a matter of managing all of those together, which property is in which district, which rate applies to that, and you put all that together. Now, there's limited areas that the administrator can work with some of that, but the tax rate itself is not set by that office at all, and we're subject to just working within the parameters that are already set forward.
And our third question. Kentucky law requires a physical inspection of a property at least once every 4 years. What is your plan for keeping assessments current the years in between physical inspections?
Again, that is correct based on the statute. I personally think that the assessment should be done on a yearly basis if possible. Now, how to achieve that, I mean, that's obviously a logistical question to begin with, and also having to work with the powers that be at the state to see how that could be done. But I think from a standpoint from the public's perception of it, I think that it's a whole lot easier, especially the average individual, the average property owner, to be able to have a smaller increase every year instead of having this tax bill in 2026 and this one in 2030 and go, wow, what happened? So I would like to see a way to do the assessments yearly and make it a little easier. The end result is the same, which, nobody, in my opinion, I don't think very many people like taxes. If, any way to reduce them is great, but I think if it's on a sliding scale to where it's not all at once, I think it would be a lot easier on the taxpayers instead of having to deal with that increase all at the same time.
Thank you. Mr. Hibbs, I'd like to offer you 3 minutes for your closing comments and your final thoughts, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, I've already explained why I'm running. Again, I know that I'm qualified to be able to hold this position. I have a long history, and as a private business owner, my clients are, because again, what I do, my clients have always been property owners. And that's who I deal with. This office is the same thing. You're dealing with the property owners, and for most property owners, the biggest investment they make in their life is buying a house and property. And so it's a big deal to most people. And like the question about the assessments and the increases, I think that any way to lessen that burden is something I'd like to see happen. As far as the way that I'd like to, when I've had, at one time I had 12 employees. Managing people, managing an office in a business is not new to me. I've done it for years. And the way I like to do is I like to get qualified people that are knowledgeable, that know what they're doing, and I like to manage. I don't like to micromanage. I like to have people that know what they're doing, that can have an efficient operation, get the things done on time, on schedule, because the state has their schedule on when everything has to be done, turned in. And but the main thing is, and in private business you learn this, to keep clients, you have to be courteous and respectful. You have to treat them like you're concerned about what their situation is. And I would do the same thing in this office, because if you come in the office, then I'll talk to you. If you have a question, I'll answer it. If you got an issue, I'll try and figure it out. And I'll give you an answer. Sometimes it won't be the answer you want, but I'll give you the answer either way. So that's the way I will approach this office and the way I'd run it. And if somebody calls me, then they can talk to me. They come in the office. They can see me. That I don't have a problem with. And that's the way I want to come in and run the PBA office when I get elected. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please give Mr. Hibbs a round of applause for his time, his efforts, and his candid answers. Thank you, Mr. Hibbs.
Thank you.
Let me first apologize to the candidates. We had a little bit of confusion about when to show up. That's my fault. We got a little ahead of schedule, which is usually a good thing, but we've got them here now, and I appreciate their patience with that. I'm going to go over the rules one more time for this group. So each candidate will get 5 minutes to introduce themselves, and then after the 5 minutes introductions, each candidate is going to get 3 questions. We're going to go in line. I'm going to flip a coin for who gets the first. You'll get 5 minutes to answer the question and a 1-minute rebuttal. So as each of you have done your 5 minutes, we'll give you a minute to rebut the response of the candidate before you, if you so choose. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. At the end of the 3 questions, we will have a 3-minute closing for each one of you, and I'll be the timekeeper, so you'll hear my buzzer go off when it's time. So since none of you are an incumbent, I'm going to go in alphabetical order. So Bobby, you get to decide heads or tails first. Heads. Heads it is. All right. So you get the first question. Deborah, you go next. Heads or tails? Heads. Heads it is. So you get the second, and you'll go third. All right.
Okay. Again, my name is Roger D, and I am your AI-generated voice. When I ask you a question, you do not have to look at me. I encourage you to look at the people that have come out and wanted to hear and understand your positions on 3 questions. What I'd like to do is, this is unique because it's 3. I'm going to ask each one a question in the order just established. You'll respond. And then at the end of those, each one of you, in the same order, will be given an opportunity to rebut so that your rebuttal deals with all of the other responses. Fair? And now I'm looking at Mr. Snow. Is that fair? Yep. All right. The first thing we'd like to do then is start with your 5-minute introductions. The timekeeper will be there, and we'll start in the order already described.
Well, I'm about as country as you're gonna get. I want to say hello first.
Sir, could you step closer to the mic? It's going to be harder to hear.
Okay.
As close as you can get.
But I'm Bobby Chesser. I live in Chaplin, Kentucky, and it just when this magistrate race come up, there was nobody set to run, and I talked over to the other people up there in Chaplin and the district and stuff is, and they said, "Why don't you run?" Whether I'm qualified educational-wise to do it, but I'm an honest person. And people stop me all the time and with other questions. I work for a car dealership. I help people every day. Anywhere I go, that I try to be an honest person. And I think it's time that we have honest people in the magistrates and stuff. I ain't saying nobody's dishonest, but I say I'm honest. And there's a lot of things that I don't know yet, but I'm willing to learn. I turned 68 this year, and it's probably going to be my last chance to do what I want to do, to be who I want to be. And you know, I'm not running for president of the United States, but I want people to come to me and say, "Bobby, thank you," even if I didn't get a problem solved. And that's what people in my area is asking me right now. We want somebody we can go talk to. We know that everything can't be fixed, but if this problem ain't fixed here, it's going to endanger somebody's life. Or you need to vote on this because if it don't, I ain't going to have enough money to live the rest of my life on taxes and stuff is. But anyway, that's one thing. My grandfather lived to be 100 years old, and he said, if you ever lose your honesty, you've lost it all. And I want everybody to vote, and with the people that run against me, we could walk to each other's houses. And but it just to me is I want to say Bobby Chesser was there to handle this problem. I bring it before physical court. Whether it gets done, I'm going to do my best to get it done. And that's about all I've got.
Thank you. Inside the 5 minutes. Well done. Next.
You introduce me or do I just go? Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thanks for coming out, and thanks for our viewers online. My name is Deborah Bohachevsky. That's quite a mouthful, so lots of people just call me Debbie B or Deb B. Probably the first thing you're thinking is, boy, she doesn't sound like she's from here. And no, I'm not. I grew up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. I'm the youngest of 6 children with 4 older brothers. So it would be kind of ironic if I got to be the first woman magistrate of Nelson County, I would kind of feel like I'm at the Sunday table because I'm used to sitting around the table with lots of men. They just happen to be my brothers, but maybe these guys could be like brothers eventually. I moved to Nelson County in 2001. My husband and I bought a farm out in Chaplin. We still have the farm. It's a beef farm, and my sons, who are now 21 and 23, have taken over the farm responsibilities, and that's given me some freedom in life. My husband traveled a lot, and so I was very responsible for the farm and its upkeep and taking care of things when he was out of town, and now my boys have taken care of that. And so I feel like I'm at a new chapter in my life where I have the time to start something new. And kind of
of like Bobby, I love my community, and I've always felt like I'm somewhat of a public servant. My great-grandfather was the town clerk back in Wisconsin. My grandfather was also the town clerk. My mom was the treasurer all growing up. So I feel like serving on the local level is very much in my blood. And it's something I can say I actually have a passion for. I've been going to fiscal court meetings off and on for years, school board meetings for about 5 years, until just recently when I decided I wanted to run for magistrate. I just love what goes on on the local level, and really, if you want to make a change, starting at the local level is where you can make that happen. I know there's nothing I can do that's going to affect things in Washington other than vote, but on the local level, I can use my education. I actually have 3 college degrees, 2 associate's degrees, and a bachelor's of science in geography and earth science with a GIS emphasis, and that ties right in with what's going on in fiscal court. I mean, we're talking about roads, we're talking about mapping, infrastructure, finance, all things I have a educational background in, and then with owning a farm, basically considered a small business, I've had to use my educational background in a real life setting and keep our farm business afloat. There's a lot more to magistrate than just showing up at meetings and having this availability of time. And I think I have an outgoing personality. Like Mr. Hutchins mentioned in the pre-show, it's not just fiscal court meetings. Sometimes you have to go to Frankfurt. I have the time, the ability, the passion, and I'll say personality to go to Frankfurt or other places and represent Nelson County, let my personality shine and talk to people and truly advocate for Nelson County. And it would be an honor to be the first female magistrate, but to me what really matters the most is doing a good job. And fiscal responsibility, boy, that is right up there, because these property taxes are just killing everybody. And that's one thing I would really dig in and do my research. That's one of the things. I consider myself a lifelong learner. I love to do research. And so I really think I could do this job well, not just represent the 5th District, but all of Nelson County. And I would appreciate your vote when it's time to start voting. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bocheski. Thirdly, Mr. Shields.
Okay, whoops. Deborah sabotaged this when I came up. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here tonight. And again, I apologize to John. We did have some confusion on the time, but it looks like everything turned out fine. I'm a 52-year-old lifelong resident of the 5th District. My wife and I currently reside at 780 Chaplain Taylorsville Road in Bloomfield. Have a farm there. My full-time occupation is a farmer. We raise cattle and tobacco and soybeans and corn, hay, and a little bit of wheat. We've also been blessed to raise 2 beautiful children at that location. My son is in the 7th grade at Bloomfield Middle School, and my daughter is in the 4th grade at Bloomfield Elementary. We also have an adult son who lives out of state, but he does get to come back to visit from time to time. For the last 35 years, I've been a firefighter with the Northeast Nelson Fire Protection District, and for the last 27 of those years, it's been my privilege to serve as chief of department. Over that period of time, we've seen a lot of advancements in public safety. We've been able to lower our ISO, our Insurance Service Officers rating at Northeast Nelson Fire, from a Class 8 down to our most recent evaluation, which we actually got about 2 weeks ago, and we're now down to a Class 4. For those of you who may not be familiar with that, ISO numbers, the lower the better. And what that translates into is savings for the property owners on their homeowners' insurances. Over my last 26 years, we probably, on average, saved the average homeowner somewhere between $1,200 to $1,500, on their insurance, going from that Class 8 to Class 4. So it's been a long process, but I've enjoyed my last 26 years serving as chief, and we've got a lot more to accomplish, and we work hard every day to maintain strong public safety for the for the residents of our district. I also worked for Nelson County EMS as an EMT back in the mid-90s for about 3 years. Still currently maintain my certification, even though I don't actively do EMS work anymore. I also served as the county fire representative on the Nelson County E911 dispatch board. About 2 years ago, we actually voted to dissolve that board and transfer that authority and oversight to Nelson Fiscal Court. Little did I realize in 2 years I would be running for magistrate and possibly be in a position to assume that role again, but I did serve in that capacity for about 1.5 years, so I do have a lot of insight as to the operations of that from my past experience. As far as my beliefs, I am committed to efficiency and transparency in all levels of government, not just here at the local level. But as Deborah said, you know, all politics is local, and most politics that affect us day in and day out start right here in Nelson County. If I'm elected magistrate, that is one of my goals, to make sure that what we are doing as a fiscal court is as efficient as possible. I don't think anybody likes to pay taxes. I like to consider them a necessary evil. Most of us expect adequate and capable responders if we have to call for a police officer, a sheriff's deputy, a fire department unit, or, you know, an ambulance if we have an emergency, and all those things have to be funded. So even though we don't willingly like to pay taxes any more than we have to, I think the question becomes, how can we manage those resources to the best of our ability? How can we make sure that we're being as efficient as possible and maintain these services to provide the level of coverage and the level of protection to our citizens that they expect to receive? I would like to also, if I'm elected, I want to make sure that I meet and listen to the concerns of all citizens in the district, not just Republicans, not just any certain you know, classification of people. I want to hear everybody's opinion, whether they're Republican, you know, Democrat, regardless of their race, creed, you know, social and economic status, or any other factors. I want to be a representative for all people of the 5th District, and I would appreciate your vote and support on May 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Okay, we're going to open up the floor for the initial question. Each person will be given 5 minutes. I want to invite to the podium Mr. Chesser. All of these questions were sealed. No one has seen them prior to. Sir, the question reads, what is the most important that fiscal court can address?
Well, it's fiscal needs of Chaplin area up there where I live. If they need more, be set up to anything that happens, we have to call Bardstown stuff is. We need to get where we can have our own police department and all that in Chaplin, to where we can address a lot of the problems. The problem we got up there, our generation is older generation in Chaplin, and they're getting where they worry what's going to happen next. And I'd like
Each person, again, a chance to respond after all three have responded. Ms. Bocheski, would you like to come up, and I'll repeat the question when you arrive at the podium? Thank you, ma'am. What is the most important need of the citizens in your district that fiscal court can address?
So I feel like the most important need is fiscal responsibility, which basically rolls back into property taxes. We have to be really careful because, of course, we can't underfund our services, but we also need to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible. I mean, checking everything out, no wasteful spending anywhere. $100 here, $1,000 there, when you're running several departments, that all adds up. So we just really need to be careful about fiscal responsibility and our spending. There's really nothing we can do about the school board because that is completely separate. One thing that is a little bit concerning to me when I did some research is, just look at your tax bill. District 5 their fire department is funded a little differently than the rest of our county. And I want to make it very clear, I have no intentions of underfunding the fire department or cutting their funding. Simply, I just want to look into it further because the Northeast Nelson Fire District is funded on by tax rate. So it varies. Everybody's bill is different for fire protection fees. I should say rate. A fee is what the rest of the county pays, and that's anywhere from $30 to $60, whereas in Northeast Nelson, again, it's a tax rate. So like mine was over $400, whereas my friend who lives in Boston was paying $30. Again, I have no interest in cutting your budget, cutting your fees. I just want to make sure that we look at this, make sure it's fair for everyone. We need to support our essential services. I wholeheartedly agree with that. We just need to make sure that the burden isn't put on one specific area. And I believe we can support our emergency services and also look out for our constituents at the same time. We just need to make sure it's fair and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Shields, your opportunity, sir. I'll repeat the question. What is the most important need of the citizens in your district that fiscal court can address?
Well, I may be a little biased because I've been in the public safety sector for so long, but I would say far and above has to be public safety. As I mentioned in the opening comments, when someone needs assistance, they expect capable and well-equipped police officers, EMTs and paramedics and firefighters to come to their aid. And I believe as a county, that is probably one of our first, if not, the most important duties that we have is securing the safety, to our citizens. And again, as I mentioned earlier, taxes are a necessary evil. And Deborah is correct. Just to expand on that thought, Northeast Nelson Fire District is what we call a fire protection district. It is the only one in Nelson County, and it differs from most of the other departments in the fact that we levy what is known as the ad valorem tax, just like fiscal court or the library board or any of the other districts. And what that means is the taxpayers pay their tax amount based on the assessed value, again tied into PVA, of their property. Deborah mentioned fairness, and I believe that is the most fair system there is in the county. The departments that operate on what we used to call the mandatory dues or the subscriptions, they may have the same value of $60 or $70, whatever that department happens to levy, whether or not that house is assessed at $75,000 or $375,000. So in my opinion, the ad valorem system that we use is a much fairer system. Over the last probably 20 to 21 years, the fire district has been able to create 2 substations. Our substation in the Chaplin community was commissioned in 2005, and we just commissioned our one in Fairfield in 2022. And again, that allows us 2 things. First of all, to lower those ISO rates for the properties that are within 5 miles of the stations, and it also gives us quicker response times. If someone in those areas has an emergency, it allows us to get firefighters on the scene quicker. So unequivocally, my answer to the question would be the public safety, whether that's fire departments or EMS or police. I believe that's our main duty to our citizens. Thank you.
Okay, now what I'd like to do is open it up for, give each candidate an opportunity to elect to choose their 1-minute rebuttal to this particular question and these particular responses we've already heard. First opportunity to Mr. Chesser. All right, thank you. Next opportunity to Ms. Bochevsky. Yes, please.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm short, I gotta keep moving it. So I actually just called my insurance agent today, and he said, my ISO, because I said, you know, we've got these new fire stations, and we have a fire hydrant down at the bottom of my driveway, what's my ISO? And he said, well, Deborah, it used to be a 5, but back in 2025, it went to 8. And I said, what? And he said, yes, we have it as an 8. And so I did some digging and to try to find out more information. And it said, contact your local fire chief. So I'm glad to hear that it has been freshly evaluated to a 4. So my advice is everybody, please call your insurance agent and make sure that they get the most updated information. So hopefully your insurance will go down. At least one little way to save a little money. So that's it.
And Mr. Shields, would you like an opportunity? No, sir. All right. Okay. Repeating the same order. Is that correct, Mr. Snow? Okay, very good. Mr. Chesser, if you'd like to come up, please. And the question reads, magistrates often face perceptions of conflict of interest in zoning or contracting decisions. How do you plan to combat this perception?
One more time.
Absolutely. Magistrates often face perceptions of conflict of interest in zoning or contracting decisions. How do you plan to combat this perception?
Well, to bring it, like I said, into the front of the physical court and stuff is because it's no favoritism in my part that I would go with either which way because of an industrial or a residential person. That's mine.
Thank you. And Ms. Bochowski? Magistrates often face perceptions of conflict of interest in zoning or contracting decisions. How do you plan to combat this perception?
So this is where I see not being from Nelson County is actually, or born and raised in Nelson County is an advantage. I've been here 25 years, so I mean, I think I've paid my dues enough to say that I love this community, but I have the advantage. I didn't go to high school with the local contractor or the concrete guy. I really don't owe anybody any favors other than Jesus Christ. So I don't think I would have any problem of anybody accusing me of conflict of interest because I just don't know enough people. So that is one advantage of not being a good old boy who's been born and raised here. Thank you.
Mr. Shields? Magistrates often face perceptions of conflict of interest in zoning or contracting decisions. How do you plan to combat this perception?
First of all, let me say I don't have anything personal against, our builders and our contractors. Nelson County is growing very rapidly, as I'm sure most of you know. People have to have a place to live. I understand that. But to the same degree, I'm the 4th generation farmer. I farm the land that my great-grandfather, started farming 126 years ago. Nothing would break my heart anymore than to see, property built on the land that I love so much. So, not that I have anything against building and progress, but I like my peace and quiet and my ruralness. So, I will tell you, I have not taken any money from anybody to fund this campaign. I do not intend to do so, and I am beholden to no one. I don't owe anybody anything, any special interest, whether they be, home builders, construction, nobody at all. I will be beholden to the voters of the 5th District, and that is the only people I'm beholden to. Thank you.
Thank you. All 3 candidates have done a good job keeping it under their time, and we'll now move to the rebuttal in the same order. Mr. Chesser, would you like to rebut for a minute? Okay. Ms. Bochowski?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, please. Oh, did you pass, ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry, I said I'm good.
I'm sorry. Forgive me. And Mr. Shields?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, in the same order, Mr. Chester, if you'll come up for the third and final question.
Yes, sir.
All right. If you had to choose between funding a much-needed salary increase for county employees or repairing a major road, which would you prioritize and why?
Well, I look at it on both sides this way because of the road being a danger to somebody's life. And I would go with the road first for the safety of the people in my community or my district.
Thank you. Ms. Bocheski, if you'll come up, please. Thank you, ma'am. If you had to choose between funding a much-needed salary increase for county employees or repairing a major road, which would you prioritize and why?
Well, I have to agree with Bobby and go with the road. For the safety factor for business, I mean, if we know how when major roads get closed, it affects everything. It can affect kids going to school. It affects the employers in the area. Hopefully, fiscal court is keeping up with, well, I shouldn't say hopefully. They are trying to keep up with cost of living raises, and so that we're not having to do a great big jump. They're doing little increments every year. So hopefully we will never be in the situation where we have to try to come up with a major salary increase. But roads, again, it's just safety. It affects everything. You can see when even a stretch of road is closed for even a short time, how it affects the community. And that's one thing, again, I'd be more than willing to go to Frankfort and advocate for Nelson County to get some of these funds. There's, at the meetings I hear at fiscal court, they talk a lot about this grant money. There is grant money out there, and you know, we've got some really good people who are great grant writers, and that's really helping our community out. I would not be afraid to go to Frankfort and stand in front of a room and sell Nelson County to those people if that can get us some money. So again, I feel like the roads would be my priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shields. If you had to choose between funding a much-needed salary increase for county employees or repairing a major road, which would you prioritize and why?
Well, I understand that question, being phrased the way it is for this debate. I will say, if you want a generic answer to that, I would more than likely have to say the roads. Again, looking at the public safety side of it, we have to have accessibility to our communities, our different streets and areas and neighborhoods to be able to get our first responders and other, people in there. But I guess if you dig into that deeper, it would rely on, what is the condition of the road? What are the salaries? Are these county employees, have they not seen a raise in the last 3 or 4 years? A lot of different factors go into that. But again, the generic answer, I would have to say the road would take priority. Hopefully, if the magistrates, if I'm elected, we stay on top of things and do our jobs. We need to make sure that our county employees have competitive salaries. When I served on the dispatch board a couple of years ago, it was a constant struggle to retain quality and trained dispatchers on that board because so many of our neighboring counties could offer them more money. So it was always a constant struggle to make sure that we were adequately staffed. So while I would prioritize the road, I don't want to diminish the fact that I think it's very important that we hire good people in these positions all across county government and make sure their salaries are competitive enough to be able to keep them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, what we'll do now is we're going to move into the 3-minute per candidate closing comments. In the same order, Mr. Chesser.
This is the last walk. But no, I love to be a magistrate. I love to help people out. I've done this all my life, and not as a magistrate, but to help other people out. It don't matter what accomplish in life is that one day I want somebody to say, you tried. And that's all we can do with what I'm running right now. That's why I'm asking for the vote. If you don't like me, don't vote for me. If you like me, vote for me. But when you leave here, when I leave here, I want people to say that's an honest guy. And whichever way I vote, and it don't matter which one of us wins here, I'm just standing before you and saying, I'm going to do my best. Whether my best is good enough, but I'm going to try my hardest. And thank you.
Ms. Bochevsky, your opportunity for a 3-minute closing comment.
So one thing I have to say is the 5th District is actually really lucky. These are really nice guys. I mean, when I see them out, we hug each other because I'm that kind of a person. I mean, so getting chills. So really, you guys are very lucky. So whoever you decide, you're going to have a great magistrate. Of course, I hope you decide on me. I really want this position. I think I can really do a good job at it. You know, at the end of the day, it comes down to trust and representation, good representation. I feel like I can do all of that. We all can. One thing, you know, I have the time and the availability that I don't know what your guys' plans are as far as retiring and whatnot, but right now I have the time, I have the willingness, I want to put all of my effort into being magistrate. I will consider this a full-time job, even though the pay is part-time. I don't even know exactly what the pay is, but to me, this would be a full-time job. And I would love to advocate for the community as much as I can, represent the community, listen to the community. I want to be here for you guys. I want to be here for Nelson County. All of Nelson County, not just the 5th District, because my vote affects everybody. 5th District residents get to vote for me, but what I do will affect everybody. And I'm not running to just make quick decisions or because nobody else signed up or because I don't want the other guy to win. I am signed up because I really want this position. And it would be an honor to be the first female to ever have this position. But at the end of the day, I just really want to do a good job and represent Nelson County. And I would be grateful for your support on May 19th. And there is also going to be early voting, so make sure you take advantage of that. I see Jeanette in the corner and reminds me of the voting when I used to work the polls. I love that too. So make sure the primaries matter, guys. Everybody, please get out and vote. So, thank you.
And Mr. Shields, your opportunity, sir.
Again, thank you all for the opportunity to be here tonight. And I want to take a moment to thank John Snow. John, of course, chose not to run for re-election this year. I appreciate the job that he's done over the last 3+ years in representing the 5th District on fiscal court. The bottom line is I've been in public service for a long time, a great number of years. I've gained a lot of insight. And I'm not here to tell you I know everything. Lord knows I like to try to learn something new every day. But what I do possess is a unique insight from that 35 years of public service. I've worked closely with fiscal court over the years on different things. Have a lot of insight into the operations of it. Deputy Judge Brad Metcalf, who's also our emergency management director, work with him very often on different aspects of county government. I know emergency management has worked very hard to upgrade our radio systems by putting in new tires and new transmitters across the county. So the bottom line is I'm ready to go on day one. That's not to say I don't have more to learn. I like to learn something new every day. But I am ready to start on day one as the magistrate for the 5th District and hopefully to be the best representative I can. And again, my position is I want to represent all people of the district, regardless of their political affiliation or any other factor. And if you agree with that, I would appreciate your vote on May the 19th. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like us to thank these candidates for their courage and their candidacy with frank and straightforward answers. Will you please give them a round of applause?
All right, I will give us a closeout by thanking everybody for coming, especially thank Thomas Nelson High School for hosting us. We'll be doing our second debate on May the 30th at 6 o'clock, right? I'm sorry, March the 30th. I said May, didn't I? That's how things get confused, right? March the 30th, sorry. And also, I've been informed that G&G is going to be hosting a Senate debate, right? In Springfield, April the 9th. Hey, look at that, I remembered that. Say it again. At 6:30, and it's going to be at the Opera House in downtown Springfield, and I'll get better at that at the next one. So please do watch on their live streams, and join us back here on March the 30th. Thank you all.
And we want to thank John Snow and all the Republican Party for having us here with G&G On Demand. We will be back on March the 30th at 6 p.m. Magistrate 2nd District, Adam Wheatley, the incumbent, and Gary Coulter, the challenger. And then the Judge Executive, Nelson County Judge Executive Tim Hutchins, the incumbent, and Don Thrasher, the challenger, will both be speaking at 7. And we'll have all that coverage for you. It'll all be right here on G&G On Demand. And we do thank them. Again, we've been at the Thomas Nelson High School Auditorium broadcasting this evening. And again, you can go back and follow this broadcast on any of your favorite streaming devices, as we'll have that log for you this evening. Thanks to Matthew Smith for engineering and producing this. Until next time, from Thomas Nelson High School, Hal be good. Wishing you and yours a pleasant evening. So long, everybody.